All right, welcome everybody. This is Business Networking Part 9, Attracting Your Ideal Client, Lecture 6, Morning Joe. All right, well, my name is Scott. Your name is Chaffee. So who's this Joe guy, Chaffee?
I don't know. Maybe we should call it Morning Scott. Joe is a cup of Joe, so that I don't know where the cup of Joe comes from. Only I guess that's where Morning Joe comes from, because we're drinking some Joe in the morning. Some of this stuff here, this coffee thing, right? So this section's about holding weekly coffee meetings as a place to attract people on a regular basis, one. And two, Scott, it's also a place for follow-up, which is, everything we've been talking about in these lessons, which is have a place where you can go after you network with somebody at a big networking event and you've collected 20, 30 business cards. How are you going to follow up with them? How are you going to make that personal connection with them? And Morning Joe's having weekly coffee meetings are a great neutral place, neutral location. And there's a whole structure to this that we're going to talk about, Scott. Only it's a great place to invite people to after the event if you want to continue that relationship with them.
So about how many people would you invite, Chaffee?
So what you want to do is you actually want to put together a calendar, okay? And so after you have a calendar, you want to keep these Morning Joe meetings between 3 or 4 people maximum, and that's including you, right? So you're only inviting 2 or 3 other people. And then if you have more than 4 people, it just gets to be a little too busy. It's not as personal anymore. And so you want to have this rolling, if you got 20, 30 people, obviously you're not going to invite all 20 or 30 people to one coffee event, right? It's just too many.
And like you said, this is the follow-up. So you can't follow up with 30 people at once. But if you have you and 2 other people, 3 other people, that's a nice group. Because when you think of it, like if you have 15 or 20 people, and you put them all in a room, generally speaking, after a certain period of time, they all split into groups of 2 or 3, or not 2, 3 or 4 or 5. And so you're just saying we're just going to have our group of 2 or 3 or 4, and then we're able to just really spend some quality time together, follow up. Would you be thinking about, like, let's just say George, Joe, and John, and would they be necessarily all in the same type of business? Or would they, like, if you had a whole bunch of different businesses that you were talking to, would you try to keep the same types together, or would you break them up?
I would, as much as possible, I would break them up in the sense of, are they related businesses? So they're not necessarily the same businesses. They're not necessarily completely separate businesses. Only, again, understand the real attractors, the real people that people look up to are the connectors, right? And so if you could be a connector and connect businesses that may be related to each other or that may work together, that's what you want to do. So for example, if there's 3 real estate agents and 2 mortgage brokers, you don't want to put the 3 real estate agents together, because while they can work together, don't get me wrong, they also compete together, right? Whereas if you connect a mortgage broker with a real estate agent, now there's a connection. They're not competing with each other, and they can refer business back and forth. That's a good combo to have.
Right. That's kind of what I was wondering about, because if there's 2 competitors and they're, that's really going to be disruptive to your group. But on the other hand, I really liked what you said about connecting and being the influencer. Is if you met George and you knew that I, for example, would really like to be interacting and working with George because we're in complementary, like, I'm a supplier and he's a retailer or whatever, then that really elevates you in my eyes, right? Because I'm not just going to this breakfast meeting and meeting 3 strangers that have nothing in common with me. And maybe sometimes that's just the nature of the beast too, but it's really good if we can put people together as well, I think.
Well, absolutely. And the cool thing is that, while you may have met all these people at the networking event, and they may not have met each other, because maybe there are 100 people there and they just didn't run across with each other. And so,
right.
not only is it an opportunity for you to build like you said, a better relationship with the people that you have met with and following up with them, it's also an opportunity for you to connect new people together. And as you said, become that influencer, become that connector, so that you become that go-to person when they need your services for some reason.
Probably it's great to start the meeting around 6:30 and go till about 10:30 every time you hold it.
No, well, if the store opens at 4, you want to be there at 4 a.m. No, I'm just kidding. No. Well, first and foremost, understand that this is a follow-up, and people work, right? They have busy schedules, and so you do want to keep it structured. You do want to keep it scheduled, and people actually appreciate that you keep the time limited at these events. And so what I recommend and what has worked really well is a 30-minute session. So I would say what a good time period for people is before 8, because people really start their day working, making phone calls and all that kind of stuff at 8 o'clock. Only if you do it too early, no one's going to show up. So if you do it at 6, it's way too early. I do recommend like 7 to 7:30 or 7:30 to 8. And depending on how well these do for you, maybe you have 2 sessions, right? One from 7 to 7:30 and another from 7:30 to 8. So that's also something that you can consider as well.
That's a good idea. I like that. So what you talked about it being structured, what are some of the ways that you would format these meetings?
So very simply, like I said, if you have yourself and 3 other people, that's 4 people, right? And so what I've done in the past that, again, has worked really well, and what we recommend everyone does, is you spend 5 minutes. You start right at 7, because promptness is key, right? So you do want to get to the coffee shop, and I do recommend a local coffee shop, because I said it's a neutral ground. So don't hold it in your office where you're inviting somebody to your territory, right, or showing your authority or whatever. You're going somewhere neutral, like a Panera Bread, a Starbucks, a local coffee shop. I prefer actually local coffee shops, Scott, because I prefer to support the local businesses if you can.
Right. Exactly what I was thinking. Plus, it has a nice ambience usually compared to the corporate coffee shops.
And so, get there a few minutes early. Make sure you got a table or a comfortable spot that can fit, 3 or 4 people. And if you can reserve a spot or get a spot in a corner away from the hubbub and the crowd, that's even better. I know that at our local coffee shop, we do have like it's kind of like a breakaway room. It's not really a separate room, only it's just like a little room area that you can go to. So I do my best to get that area. And so
I think, when you were talking about supporting the local business, I think that's a really good idea. And I think if you went to, I personally think you should be there 10, 15 minutes, like well in advance, because then you can scope everything out and see if you've got any problems. And also it's nice to be there before everybody else. But then if you talk to the owner and it's, it's the only coffee shop they own, then you can say, you know what, every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I'm coming with 3 from my friends, and we talk business and that sort of stuff. We'd love to be like over there or over there, right? And would that be possible, right? And they're going to be saying, oh, sure, we'll put a little reserve sign on there, or we'll block it off or something. And then when you come, you can just, and they're probably not that busy at 6:45 in the morning that it's an issue, right?
Absolutely. And I know at the coffee shop I go to, they know me so well. I come in and I order, food. I go there for lunch sometimes. And so, they're always very accommodating for me. And also, they give me free upgrades sometimes. They'll give me an extra shot of espresso. They'll give me an extra cookie or something. So, building that relationship has, minimal benefits. It's better than none.
We talk about networking, right? Well, if you're talking to the owner, you're like networking with him every time you come in. What are you guys doing over there? And next thing you know, he might be saying, well, you know what, some guy comes in all the time that would be just perfect for what you're talking about. I'll let him know. And here's my card. Give him the card and connect us. Yep. Because you've got thousands of people going into those shops for a cup of coffee every day, and who knows, right?
Absolutely. So anyways, back to what we were talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about the format.
So the format, right? And so what I recommend is you start right on time, whatever that time is. Let's just say 7 a.m. in the morning. Okay, so you start at 7 o'clock. And for the first 5 minutes, it's really just introductions, just really, this is where we met, I just wanted to get everybody together, just, some announcements, just general news. And it's only 5 minutes. So I'm not talking, have a big grand rally speech for 20 minutes, right? So it's just a 5-minute introduction. And then you dive right into it. And so in the introduction, you tell them what you expect. And what we expect is we're going to go around and give everybody 5 minutes to talk about their business or to ask any questions they want. And so everybody gets 5 minutes. It's very, like I said, it's very structured. So if you have 4 people, there's 20 minutes right there. Okay. So 5 minutes of introductions and setting the groundwork. 5 minutes each person, that's 25 minutes right there. And then 5 minutes of wrap up, just wrapping everything up, making sure everyone has each other's information and getting, maybe a follow-up plan associated with that as well. So that's the real format. And if you only have 3 people, then, you spend 15 minutes and you got, a little bit extra time for wrap up. Only you do want to end at 7:30. Again, people appreciate that because they have other things to do and they know it's going to end at 7:30. And then what happens is that you actually ask them that if they run across other networking events, to send people your way so you can invite them to the coffee event again. So
walk us through that darn mute button. Walk us through an example of closing a meeting, because I think that is the hardest part for most people, because I can recall it wasn't actually a meeting. It was a bunch of us, I think, on a Zoom call, and we were kind of done, but everyone was like taking forever to say goodbye. So do you just sort of stand up and walk away, or, because it's kind of like, bye, well, what about this? There's sort of last second questions and everything else. So how do you just sort of, because I know that one thing that could very easily happen at the end is you sort of say, okay, we're all done, everybody gets up, and then 2 people walk away and they continue talking about some business thing that they were, so that I'm sure happens a lot. But in terms of just, we're done, so don't feel like you have to hang around, you can go.
So again, in the introduction, you start there, right? And you tell everyone that we're going to end at 7:30. Like, this meeting ends at 7:30, and if you decide to go off with somebody else, that's entirely your choice. Only this meeting will end at 7:30. And so a lot of times I'll even say, I got to go at 7:30 because I got to run off to another meeting. So it's, when you set that, when you plant that seed at the very beginning, then when it's 7:30, you go, hey, it's 7:30. I appreciate everyone for coming out. Make sure that you get everyone's information. I hold these on a regular basis. So if you know anybody else that might be interested in attending one of these, please let me know. If you'd be interested in attending sometime down the future, once I get through, a rotation, then I'd be more than happy to invite you back. Only then I actually invite them to another networking event that I hold. So, there's always a follow-up to the follow-up, right? So
what you're saying is you have a plan for these people that isn't just show up once and never see you again.
That's correct. And so, the wrap up is, like I said, really just thanking everyone for coming out, making sure everybody has everybody's information, and saying, hey, 7:30, this meeting's ended. And if you'd like to stick around and talk to somebody, that's great. Feel free to do so. Only, I got to end this meeting so we can all get about and go around our daily activities.
Cool. So now I have a financial question for you, and that's this. Do you take a bunch of straws, cut one in half, hold it, and then go around the group and you pull straws, and the short straw pays for everything?
No, I actually buy gift cards for everybody and spend a lot of money. No, I don't do that either. No, so just did we talk about our lunches yet, Scott? Did I talk about that? Lunches? We did earlier, right?
Lunches. Yeah.
And so, just like the weekly luncheons, this is best left to everybody to cover themselves, right? Pay for themselves, or go Dutch, or however you want to say it. And so everybody drinks something different. Some people have these really fancy foo-foo drinks with a bunch of, additions on top. Some people just drink tea, right? I do strongly recommend everybody order at least something to, again, support the local business. We're using their space, right? And so what's $1 or $2 if you're just ordering like a tea or a small drink for a networking event? And so everyone, pays for themselves. And so that keeps it simple, right? And so,
Yeah.
yep. And there's
That's
no
fair.
cost of entry either, right? So I'm not charging $10 or $5 to come to a 30-minute meeting. It's just come, meet some people, order some coffee, support the local business, and then, follow up at the, take it to the next step.
So I think, I'll give you a second to say if there's anything else about Morning Joes that you want to talk about, but I think it's kind of good to sort of review this bit of process that you've taken people through. And then you can tell me if I missed anything, right? So you and I, you give me a call, you say, hey, Scott, there's Susie's got this great networking thing on Monday nights, and I'm going to go next Monday. You want to come? And I said, sure. So we go, and we mingle around and everything else, and then you get, I get 4 business cards. You get 4,000 business cards. And then the next week you call me up and you say, hey, Scott, I'm going to have a little morning meeting on Thursday at 7 o'clock. You want to join? Be a couple other people from the networking event. I go, oh, sure. Okay. So we show up and we all have our half hour chat, everything else. And at the end of it, or sometime during that period, you say, you know what? I have my own networking event, and it happens to be on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock at the Hyatt or wherever it is. You guys are all invited to come if you want to come. You give us the details and everything else. So what happens is we've met people at a networking event. We've got time to get a little bit, to know them better, really is the way to put it. I was going to say to get intimate with them, but to know them better. And then the next step of the relationship is they're coming to the networking event. That's your networking event, right? And the idea, I think, is that if each month you're having this networking event, and each month you say, hey, guys, I'm having this, you want to come? Then over time, you're building a stronger and stronger relationship with them because they see you over and over and over again. So this isn't because to me, one of the big problems with networking in my past has been I will go to something and I'll get a bunch of cards. I'll never follow up. I never see them again. And if I do, I don't remember them, which is really embarrassing. So this sounds like a really nice, in this particular scenario that I put out, 3-step process in which you're going to have a touch with them every month if it's a monthly meeting that's your meeting.
So there's multiple things to do here, Scott, and I've actually done all of it. So when you do all of it in conjunction, one, it doesn't take very much time. So I just want to put that out, right? We talked about this Morning Joe, which is a 30-minute meeting once, maybe twice a week. That's it. So that's going to take you, an hour for the meetings, and then, travel back and forth. It's, another half an hour. So 2 hours a week maximum to do 2 Morning Joe events a week. And then you go out to lunch once a week. We talked about the luncheons earlier. And so lunch is going to take you 2 hours, again, just travel back and forth and an hour and a half at the lunch event. And then, Scott, what you added was a third thing, which is something that I also do, so I can invite people to that, is a monthly meeting that's a little bit longer. My monthly meetings usually go for about 2 hours, and it takes a little bit of time to set up and plan out and everything. So again, you have an hour or 2 hours for Morning Joes and a couple hours for lunch, and then maybe 3 hours for a monthly meeting. So now, that's it. That's all it takes. And what that does when you do that on a consistent basis, lunch every week, Morning Joes every week, and a monthly meeting every month, that gives you that authority that allows you to become that influencer. And it gives you many places to invite people to so that you can go to other networking events and invite them to your networking events. And so now you become an attractor versus, somebody searching for leads, right? And so again, it doesn't take very much time, and you do have that multi-step process because, as we've said many times, a person doesn't become a client or a person doesn't buy from you on the first time. They have to get to know you, they have to get to like you, and they have to get to trust you. So now I have multiple places for them to come and actually meet me and talk to me outside of any phone calls or follow-up calls that I make, right? So now I have multiple touches, and then they can check out my website, they can check out my social media, All that adds into this process that we're talking about attracting your ideal client, right? So you're putting out a bunch of information and they see all this stuff and now they're like, wow, that person's really doing something. Wow, that person's really out there. Wow, they're really connecting with a lot of people. I want to get to know them and I want to get to work with them. You're on mute again.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay, and I had my mouse over the mute button too, and I didn't click it. I think that's a good place to end this lecture. And in the next one, you talked about social media, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the next lecture. How to use your foreshadowing. That's right. I don't think you knew it was coming next too. So that was really, you're really in tune with our class. So we'll see you in the next lecture, everybody.